Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we continue following the stormy yet sweet love journey of the single mother lythica and the brave police officer Hùng. In the previous episodes, you must have felt the deep, genuine affection they have for each other. A strong yet tender woman, and a resolute man in his police uniform with a warm heart, their meeting seemed destined by fate. Yet destiny is never that simple. At this moment, Hùng faces the most difficult choice of his life. On one side is his sacred police career, noble and honorable, tied to the responsibility of protecting security and order. That path could take him far, bring pride, but it also means leaving behind his small family, and being apart from Hoài and Tony for a long time. On the other side is love and family, where Hoài waits for him, and little Tony yearns for a father's love. Staying with them would bring him peace and happiness, but the price would be abandoning the career he has pursued for years, even returning to the burdens of trading and business. The question is, does Hùng have the courage to sacrifice his career for love, or will he give up love to continue his path as a policeman? This is not just a personal decision, but a cruel test for both hearts beating as one. Hoài, she may be strong enough to wait, to shoulder everything alone, but will distance and loneliness slowly fade their love away? And Hùng, no matter how brave he is, he's still human. Can he truly balance his duty to the nation with his promise to the woman he loves? In today's episode, we will witness a turning point, a decision that will change everything. Will love prevail, or will career reign supreme? Where will the future of Hoài and Hùng lead? Will this be the beginning of a new chapter filled with happiness, or the opening of a door to even harsher trials? Everything will be revealed in this episode. So, don't look away, don't miss a single detail. Every moment holds the truest emotions and the most important decisions. Stay tuned to find out the answer. That night, Hoài sat beside a flickering oil lamp in the small kitchen, her heart weighed down with worry. Darkness covered the porch, and the light drizzle outside made the ticking clock sound like a knife cutting into her chest. Hùng hadn't come home all night, the very first time since they'd been together. 1,000 questions swirled in her mind. Where did he go? Did something happen? Or was it the police work that pulled him away again in the middle of the night? She wanted to call him, but she didn't even have a phone. That helplessness brought tears to her eyes. The entire night, she tossed and turned, listening to the sound of the rain mixing with her racing heartbeat, occasionally startled by small noises outside, hoping it was the familiar footsteps of Hùng returning home. But silence was all she got. As the first light of dawn crept in, Hoài eyes were dark and swollen from staying up all night. She woke up early, trying to clean the house just to distract herself from the suffocating anxiety. But she couldn't focus, her hands trembled, and her mind was filled only with thoughts of Hùng. Unable to take it anymore, she stepped outside and sat by the door, eyes fixed on the empty road, clinging to the hope that any moment now, his silhouette would appear. And then, after hours of waiting, a familiar figure emerged in the distance. It was Hùng. His shirt damp with night dew, and in his hand, a basket holding 2 large fish still flapping. Hoài jumped up, relief, frustration, and pain all mixing inside her. She ran toward him, her voice trembling. Where were you all night? I couldn't sleep. I was so scared something had happened. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Hùng quickly set the basket down, his eyes filled with guilt. I'm sorry. I really am. My phone died, and since you don't have one, I couldn't let you know. A friend asked me to go fishing, but honestly, I spent the whole night thinking. I know I was wrong to let you worry like that. I promise, I won't let it happen again. Hoài was torn between relief and sadness. Tears welled up, but she still smiled faintly, because he had come back safe and sound. She looked at the two fish still wriggling in the bamboo basket and softly asked, "Where did you get these fish?" Hung let out a quiet sigh, his gaze distant, carrying the weight of all his thoughts. "I fished all night, not just to catch these fish, but to really think about my choices. And I've made up my mind, Hoài. This will be the last time I let you worry like that again." At that moment, the air seemed to grow heavy. Hoài held her breath, her heart filled with both anticipation and fear. The decision Hung was about to speak of was the turning point that could change both of their lives forever. Hearing Hung say he would reveal his decision later, Hoài grew even more curious. Her heart burned with impatience. She wanted to know which path he had chosen. Would he continue wearing the police uniform, or set aside his career to stay with her? But seeing the gentle, confident smile in his eyes, Hoài simply nodded. She understood, this moment was more important than any answer. What mattered now was cherishing the rare peace they had together. Hung set the basket down. The two large fish still flapped in the water, their dark eyes gleaming under the morning sun. Hoài laughed. "These fish are huge. We'll need a whole pot to cook them." Hung chuckled too. "Then let's cook them together. We'll eat some, sell some, and give the rest to our loved ones." The little kitchen suddenly filled with the warmth of family life. Hoài swiftly cleaned the fish, while Hung prepared ginger, chili, garlic, and scallions. The clay pot on the stove began to bubble, the aroma of fish braised with fish sauce, pepper, galangal, and turmeric filling the entire house. The fragrance was so tempting that even Tony came running, tugging at their sleeves, eager for a taste. Hoài watched the scene, and an unexpected sense of serenity bloomed in her heart. Sometimes happiness was as simple as sharing a home-cooked meal with the one you love. When the fish was done, golden, tender, shimmering in the rich caramelized sauce, they carefully divided it into small boxes. Some were for the market, some were to be given away. Carrying 2 boxes of steaming fish, Hoài and Hung walked to the foster mother's house. The old woman opened the door, surprised to see the two of them laden with gifts, handing her a pot of fragrant braised fish. She beamed with joy, her warm gaze falling on them as if they were truly a family. At the marketplace, Hoài fish immediately drew attention. Buyers gathered around, praising the aroma, the firm texture, the perfectly balanced flavors. In no time, everything was sold out, except for 2 boxes that Hung and Hoài had set aside for Ha and her mother, who had always supported and encouraged them. As Hoài held the warm boxes in her hands, she stole a glance at Hung. She hadn't forgotten the most important thing, his final decision. But instead of asking, she chose silence, allowing the warmth of the moment to linger just a little longer. Inside her heart, a question echoed. Will he choose love or career? Or, is there a way for him to keep both? After leaving the market, Hung and Hoài carried 2 boxes of fragrant braised fish and stopped by Ha's mother's house. The small home nestled quietly in an old alley, with bougainvillea blooming at the gate. From inside the kitchen drifted the aroma of lunch still simmering on the stove. Ha's mother was sitting on the porch, her wrinkled hands swiftly picking through a basket of vegetables. The moment she saw them, her face lit up with joy. "Oh my, you two brought food again? You're always so thoughtful, this makes me so happy." The 3 sat together on the porch, their conversation flowing around simple, everyday things. Hoài shared stories about the busy market that morning, Ha's mother asked about little Tony, and then spoke of Ha, still working hard, delivering packages under the blazing sun and dusty roads. Hoping he could join them for a meal, she called her son, but unfortunately, Ha was caught up in his shift and couldn't leave. "Well then, you two stay and eat with me," she said warmly. And later, help me harvest a few gourds from the trellis. I'm getting old, my legs aren't strong anymore, it's hard for me to climb up there. Hung quickly nodded. Of course, mother. Leave it to us. I'll climb up, and Hoài will help. It's too risky for you to do it yourself. Together, they went out to the garden. The gourd trellis stretched wide, heavy fruits hanging down beneath rustling leaves swaying in the breeze. Hung climbed the ladder, carefully cutting each gourd and passing them down to Hoài. She caught each one in her arms, their weight pressing down, and every so often, she looked up at him with eyes filled with both pride and worry. The scene was warm, tender, like that of a real family. When the work was done, the three returned to the porch and sat together, sipping green tea. The air felt easy, close, and comforting. Yet in that very moment, Ha's mother turned toward Hung. Her gaze, though kind, carried a serious weight. Hung, I've heard you're facing an important decision. Will you continue being a police officer, or will you quit to stay home and help with the business alongside Hoài? What have you decided? The question hung in the air, and the cheerful atmosphere fell into silence. Hoài froze, the teacup trembling slightly in her hands. This was the very question she had longed to hear answered, yet also feared to face. Now, both women's eyes, Hoài and Ha's mother's, were fixed on Hung. He let out a quiet sigh and lifted his gaze toward the distant fields, where the evening breeze gently swept across the grass. His expression revealed the turmoil inside him. Finally, a faint smile touched his lips, and he spoke softly. I've thought about this for a long time. And I've come to my final decision, mother. For a brief moment, it was as if the whole world stood still. Hoài held her breath, her heart pounding wildly, waiting for the next words from Hung, the words that would decide the future of them both. In the modest little kitchen of Ha's mother, the faint aroma of green tea lingered in the air while cicadas sang loudly outside in the garden. Shafts of afternoon sunlight streamed through the wooden shutters, casting golden streaks across the old table. The air, warm and homely just moments ago, suddenly grew heavy after Ha's mother's question. Hung took a deep breath. His eyes turned toward Hoài, the woman who had stood by his side through countless hardships. She sat there, small and fragile, clutching her teacup tightly as if to steady herself. Her gaze shone with hope, but also carried an unspoken fear. Hung knew, this was the moment he could no longer avoid, no longer keep silent. He spoke slowly, his voice deep but steady. Mother, Hoài, I've thought about this endlessly. To the point I couldn't sleep, to the point I had to find a quiet place and spend the whole night fishing, just to untangle the knots in my heart. And now, I have my final decision. I will continue serving as a police officer. He paused, his eyes dimming, as if each word cut into his own heart. Next Monday, I'll have to pack my things and move to the new assignment. There's a dormitory there, and I'll live in it. But I promise, no matter how tired I am, I will come back every weekend to see Hoài and Tony. The room fell silent. Even the cicadas outside seemed to hush. Hoài bit her lip, her heart twisting painfully. She had suspected it, but hearing it from his own mouth still pierced her. Tears glistened at the corners of her eyes, yet she forced a faint smile. I understand, Hung. I know the police uniform isn't just a job to you, it's your dream, your duty. I don't want to be the reason you give it all up. Go, do your work without worry. At home, Tony and I will manage. I'll wait for you every weekend. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were resolute. Ha's mother nodded gently, her own eyes misty with emotion. She placed a wrinkled hand on Hung's shoulder and said softly, my son, I understand. This decision was never an easy one. But you've chosen well. As long as you remain fair, and keep your heart upright, I will always be proud of you, wherever you go. As for Hoài and Tony, don't worry. I'll come over from time to lend a hand, so you won't have to carry the weight alone. Hùng, hearing this, turned and clasped Hoài hand firmly. This time, he held it tighter than ever, as though pouring all his faith and promise into her palm. I don't want to be apart from you, Hoài. But duty calls. Please understand, and give me time. Once things settle, I'll find a way to request a transfer back closer to home. I'm entrusting you to Mother Ha, and even to Ha himself. You don't have any family nearby, and Mother is already old. I just pray that while I'm gone, you won't feel alone. Hot tears streamed down Hoài cheeks, falling onto the back of his hand. Yet within the sorrow was also a quiet sense of relief. She nodded firmly, her voice breaking but unwavering. Don't worry, I'll be your strong support. I won't let you be burdened by what's behind. As long as you stay strong and safe, Tony, and I will wait for you with strength too. Hùng gazed at her, his heart swelling with both sorrow and pride. He knew how much strength it took for her to speak those words of support. In that kitchen, the atmosphere was both warm and bittersweet. The three of them lifted their teacups together, sharing their unspoken feelings. Outside, the evening breeze rustled through the gourd vines, as if bearing witness to their unity. Though countless challenges and distance awaited them, love, trust, and sacrifice had become the invisible thread binding them tightly together. That afternoon, after leaving Ha's mother's house, Hoài and Hùng walked hand in hand back to their small home. Along the way, they chatted and laughed as if there had never been any distance between them. Their laughter mingled with the evening breeze, lightening the heaviness in the air. Hoài glanced at Hùng, her smile soft and gentle, but her eyes shone with an unusual strength and faith. When they got home, Hoài quickly tidied up before pulling out an old suitcase from the closet. She began folding clothes neatly, placing each one carefully inside. As she worked, she softly said, "Don't worry. Tony and I can take care of each other at home. You just need to focus on doing your job well." Standing nearby, Hùng watched her small, delicate hands and felt a surge of indescribable tenderness. He stepped closer, gently resting a hand on her shoulder, his voice low and heavy. "I'm still worried. Being away from you and Tony, I don't know how much hardship you'll have to bear. But I also know, if I don't go, I'll never find peace in my heart." Hoài looked up, forcing a bright smile to hide the faint tears in her eyes. "Silly, I understand. You've been devoted to the police uniform for so many years, it's your pride. Tony and I only need you to stay healthy and come home on the weekends. At home, I'll manage everything. Don't worry too much about me." Her words eased some of his burden, but he still couldn't hide his lingering concern. Sitting down beside the suitcase, he took her hand and said, "I promise, with my next paycheck, I'll buy you a phone. That way, even if I'm far away, we can still call each other. I don't ever want another night like before, when you waited for me but couldn't reach me." Hearing that, Hoài nodded gently, her smile widening. "Alright, once I have a phone, you won't need to worry. Just remember to call me often. As long as I hear your voice and know you're safe, I'll be at peace." Hùng looked at his wife, overwhelmed with emotion. He squeezed her hand tightly, murmuring, "Even when we're apart, I hope you'll always love me as you do now. And I promise, I'll keep this love alive, I won't let distance fade it." At that moment, their small home was filled with peace. Tony ran out, wrapping his little arms around both parents, blissfully unaware of the looming separation. Holding her child close, leaning against Hung's shoulder, Hoài whispered in her heart, "No matter how far you go, I will always be your strong support. Together, we will overcome everything." So, will Hung's decision to continue wearing the police uniform and transfer to a faraway post affect his love with Hoài? Will the distance, the long days apart, and the endless nights without each other's presence make their love stronger and more resilient through trials? Or will it slowly create invisible cracks between them? Hung, a man carrying the weight of duty to his country and the sacred uniform, how will he balance career and love? Can he hold on to both, or will he be forced to sacrifice one? The answer will slowly unfold in the next episode. Stay tuned, because what lies ahead will bring even greater challenges for Hoài and Hung.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người phần tiếp theo về nội dung của video về câu chuyện của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng đã biết thì ở trong tập trước, Hùng và Hoài Ca hiện tại thì đang ở chung với nhau. Tuy nhiên họ đang bị một cái chuyện vô cùng khúc mắc, đó là về vấn đề việc làm của Hùng. Trong khi anh bắt buộc phải lựa chọn giữa việc là nếu như muốn ở lại cùng Hoài Ca và Tony tại nơi ở bây giờ thì anh phải nghỉ việc, vì hiện tại anh đã bị chuyển công tác đến một nơi khác khá là xa rồi. Tuy nhiên thì Hùng đang phân vân, do hiện tại Hùng bây giờ mẹ thì cũng không còn nữa, Tiểu San thì cũng ở xa, nên anh rất muốn ở cạnh Tony và Hoài Ca. Đó là điều Hùng do dự khiến cho anh chưa đưa ra quyết định để chọn công việc. Vậy thì mọi chuyện sẽ diễn biến như thế nào? Mời mọi người đón xem ở tập sau nha.